Talk, talking crime, cases, and backing the blue. Now, here are your hosts, Captain Ed Mamet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cop Talk. I'm Kevin Schroeder, your host, and I'm here with my co-host, the good captain.
Hello, YouTube viewers and WABC listeners. We have an interesting guest today who has a very interesting story to tell.
So our guest today on Cop Talk is retired police officer Sean Cosgriff. Sean Cosgriff is a Marine, U.S. Marine, is retired from the NYPD, and he was also there the night that police officer Anthony Dwyer was killed in the Midtown South Precinct. Sean, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
So Sean, thank you for being here. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about your background, where you grew up and where you're from, et cetera?
Okay, my name is Sean T. Cosgriff. I come from a family of 14 children, 9 boys and 5 girls. We migrated from Bay Ridge when I was born. I was the 11th of 14 to Staten Island, and grew up a very simple life. Great parents. I was just always enamored with the military, playing Army when I was a kid and stuff like that. So my dream was to become a United States Marine. And so my older brother was a Marine as well. And so I just saw that, and I always just tried to be the person that I wanted to be a good person and help people and things of that nature. And I still do that to this day. Make a long story short, when I was 17, I asked my mom if I can enlist in the Marine Corps, and she told me no. So I had to wait till I was 18 until I could do it. But before that, I had a girlfriend that her father was a New York City police officer, and he said to me, I was 16 and a half years old. He said, you should take the test, become a cop. I said, I don't want to be a cop. I want to become a Marine. He goes, you never know. So he gave me $10 for the filing fee with the application. I filed it, and I even forgot I took the test. My mother writes me a letter while I was on active duty, and she says, I got a letter from the city of New York. We thought it was a summons or something like that we thought something they wanted you for something. Turns out the police department is investigating you. They want you to become a cop. So long story, really short. My active duty time was cut short, and I got off active duty November 27th, 1984. And I was in the January 21st, 1985 police academy class. I never wanted to become a cop, but it seemed like the right thing to do. Some people told me, you should do this. So if you don't like being a cop, go back to the Marine Corps. Okay, great. Get the best of both worlds. I become a cop. I was in the police academy with you, and I was home. It was my calling. It was everything to me. It was a fantastic job. I loved every minute of it.
Now, Sean, you come from Staten Island, so a lot of firemen and cops live in Staten Island. So I'm sure a lot of guys you grew up with became firemen and cops as well.
Absolutely.
And you have brothers and sisters. Any of them were on the job?
Well, at one time, I had, but because I got on the job, everything was purely happenstance. My sister became a New York City police officer. My two younger brothers became New York City police officers, and they ended up going to become firemen as well. So at one time, we had 5 civil service workers in my family that were on, working for the city.
Where'd your sister work?
My sister Liz, she worked in Staten Island. She worked in a 120, and then she retired out of Staten Island Warrants.
And how about your other 2 brothers?
My brother Michael worked in the 6th precinct where I worked. I got him there, and my brother John worked in the 1st precinct. He didn't want to walk in my shoes, follow my footsteps. He wanted to make it on his own, which he did, and he was there. He was in the first World Trade Center bombing, and he was on all the posters. He was one of the first cops there, saving people's lives there. That's the truth. He was on all the billboards.
The bombing in 93.
93, yes.
Yeah, yep. In February, yep.
Yep.
And how long did you do the reserves with the Marines too, or just?
Yeah, but after my active duty time, because I got fortunate to become a cop, I stayed in the Marine Corps Reserves until 1991. So from 83 to 91.
So you're in the police academy. You come out. You're assigned to NSU
10 in Brooklyn, in Flatbush, and Coney Island area. Those are the 70, 61, 62 precincts over there. Trial by fire. The 70 precinct was a very busy place, and learned a lot there. And then I got activated for the Marine Corps for like 6 months. And when I came back from that, then they transferred me to the 6th precinct in the West Village.
Did you want to go to the 6th precinct?
I never even knew where the 6th precinct was. I knew nothing about it.
Of course not.
When my first day on patrol, after orientation, they gave me a list of where the footposts are, and they forgot that they changed the boundaries of precincts, and they gave me this list in my memo book, and I made it down somewhere in the 1st precinct. I had to wave a radio card down to tell me where is this post. They were like, "You're in the 1st precinct," and they brought me to Washington Square Park on my first post there. And in those days, it was different. You know, you never called the boss. You didn't ask for supervision. You know. So
tell everyone your assignments in the 6th precinct, and then building up to the day you got injured.
Okay. First get assigned to the 6th precinct, they had you do a footpost in Washington Square Park, where it was the height of the crack and AIDS epidemic in the 1980s. They would put 5 cops in the park with 1 sergeant. Park was a zoo. And I worked there for 14 months, walking the footpost, made a lot of arrests, all drug-related, a lot of fights, a way different job than what it is today. And the way it worked was they would, if the job needed, on that tour they needed someone to guard a DOA or an EDP, they would take them from the park. So in all essence, it would come down to 2 guys working the park. One would be on meal and 1 guy was in charge of the zoo. That would be me. And all you were doing was you were chasing people all day long or locking people up. One guy would make a collar. And it was chaotic, to say the least. And but, you know, trial by fire, did that. And walking footposts on 14th Street, Operation Pressure Point, all drug-related. And then details everywhere. One very poignant detail, of course, we'll talk about the Dwyer incident, but when I just had just a couple of months on patrol, New Year's Eve, 1986, 85 to 86, they put us in Times Square, and somebody came up to me and said to me, "There's a guy right there with a shotgun in the crowd on 48th Street and Broadway." And I looked at the guy, and he was wearing a turban, and he had these are memories that will last me my whole entire life. Right. He had a duffel bag, like a sea bag, a military sea bag, and he had a handheld shotgun. He pulled it out like this far, like 6-7 inches. I saw it. He saw me. Me and another cop pursued him. We ran, and he turned around and wheeled it around, and he put that shotgun right on my stomach. And I pulled it out of his hands, and we tackled him. We got him down. And to this day, I can still feel that barrel right on my stomach, right on my vest. Turned out the firearm was doctored to go fully automatic. So if he would have pulled that trigger, it would have been 8 rounds going through me. So I was very lucky that day. And that was when I was saying to myself, I was thinking about this. Here I am, 20 years old. I never wanted to become a cop. And after this happened, we locked this guy up. And I told the sergeant, I said, "You know, I didn't sign up for this stuff." Yeah. And he goes, "Shut your mouth. You're going to get a medal for this." And that point on, yeah, I did. I got a commendation. So did the other guys for this pick-up arrest. And it was a great arrest. And we found out that the guy wanted to shoot into the crowd. He wanted to kill blacks because he had a problem with that. He was a Muslim type, a Sikh. And it was a very scary thing. And so my bosses in the 6th precinct, after that, they knew that Times Square and New Year's Eve wasn't such a good thing for me to go to after that. And I actually asked them, "Do you mind not? I'll work patrol in the precinct." And I did. And I ended up going back a couple of times. And another time I was in Times Square, they put me in a roving band van for roving bands of knuckleheads that were going out and messing with people. And this kid comes up to me and said, "I see these guys fighting, arguing." As they're walking past the van, we're parked in front of Madison Square Garden facing north on 7th Avenue. 7th Avenue goes south. We're facing, watching the crowd coming after the ball dropped. These people were like arguing a little bit. We didn't think anything of it. Next thing you know, we had pop, 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 pop. They got into an argument, and it was the first homicide of that year. And the poor kid, 18 years old, died right in my arms.
Wow.
I saw his last breath.
A lot of action in Midtown South and Midtown North, huh?
It was.
Hey, Sean, your career was cut short because you were injured, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us about how you got injured?
Okay, I was working in the radio car for about 4 years with my SETI partner. We had a great relationship doing a nine squad chart. He's still my best friend, Glenn Ionato. Talk to him almost every day. That's how it works in that job. So he was on vacation. That's one thing he always said, yeah, maybe I shouldn't go on vacation. You always get involved in crap. But anyway, we were working. I was working on a 4 to 12. It was my last one of the week. And I was working with another guy from my squad. And they told us to watch out for the rookies. And I already had, 4 or 5 years on patrol. I'll take a patrol cop over a detail cop any day. Patrol cops, they know, especially ones that work around the clock, and I'm one of them, proud to say it. Nothing against anyone else, but that's just the way it is. And a lot of people will understand that. For those who don't, okay. So anyway, that night, told us to watch out for the rookies in Washington Square Park. We pull up, we see 2 rookies trying to settle an argument between it was a Puerto Rican Day Parade, 4 Puerto Rican guys and a white guy, older white guy. Turns out the argument was the white guy was going to sell him 3 hits of mescaline for $10, and he only gave them 2 hits of mescaline for $10. So as a patrol cop, what do you do? It's hot summer day. It's 10 o'clock at night. No one's getting arrested. You need the cops on the street. It's packed, Washington Square Park. So you do what the cops do. You go this way and you go that way. We're not locking anyone up. Turns it got heated. I ended up having these Puerto Rican guys chase the other guy. And within 30 seconds, my career was basically over. I tripped on a metal plate on the sidewalk and destroyed my ankle. I twisted my foot completely up, around and up. I was in a hospital for 9 days, required 10 surgeries. I had my ankle fused 3 times. I live in pain every day as a result of that. And but I try to live the best life I can.
Well, you're doing pretty good.
Well, not really great, because the residual effects of that injury caused me to get both of my hips replaced and my right knee replaced and my right shoulder replaced, because there's overcompensating on everything. And as a result, also because of that, I still try to live a productive, non-disabled type of life. I got married, I had children, being a father, breadwinner and a coach for my kids and stuff like that. And I kind of overdid it, which resulted in these things. I'm not crying the blues because it came with the job.
And you play the guitar that you brought with you.
I'm a guitar player. Yes, I am. And that's why one of those things that I did, some people would curl up in a ball and put a thumb in their mouth with some of the stuff. And I'm not saying that people have a lot worse than me. I'm a very optimistic person. But some people would curl up in a ball and their life would be over. I vented my efforts of being a New York City police officer, which like I said, I was home when I got on that job. It was fantastic. And anyone who knows me, that worked with me, they know. Right? So anyway, I turned it into being a good husband, good father, being a guitar player, helping people out. I'm very active with the Marine Corps League, with being a veteran and things of that nature. And right now, just here I am, 60 years old, and just my kids are growing up. I'm a grandfather, and I'm pretty happy, but, don't get around too well, but I'm all right.
Yeah. How many years total did you do in the police department?
Just under 9. 9 years, 2 months. That's what it was. Yeah. And I was, believe me, the day I had to go in front of the medical board, put it this way. I did not put in to get to retire.
I know.
They put the papers in for me. I didn't want to retire.
Sean didn't want to leave.
Yeah, I did not want to leave.
I loved the job.
And I loved it. They put me in the detective squad on restricted duty, and that was a great experience. I worked with some really great detectives, and I learned a lot there too. I was constantly learning. But the thing was, with retirement, I remember the day I had to go in front of the medical board. I told my wife, I said, I hope they defer me or they reject me. And I went there, and they looked at me for 35 seconds, looked at my medical records, and they said, okay, take care. We'll call you in a couple hours. They never tell you right there because they don't want you to have a bad reaction. They'll be subjected to your reaction. So that's their policy. Went home, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, got a phone call. You're retired. Congratulations. And that was a bad day. That was a sad day for me. I did not want it. But I had to take it. And so like I said, my exertions, my actions and everything like that, I pushed that towards other things. Never felt sorry for myself because I knew that's one of the things that came with the job.
This National Foster Care Month, Marine Toys for Tots is providing hope to children who need it most. Staff Sergeant James Caldwell, who grew up in foster care himself, shares that while handing out gifts at a Toys for Tots distribution event, a little girl looked up at him, reached into her bag, pulled out a stuffed animal and said, "Someone needs to make sure you get a toy too." That simple gesture embodies the heart of Marine Toys for Tots, ensuring every child, including those in foster care, experiences the kindness that can transform their future. Visit toysfortots.org today.
Now, you were involved with a notorious case of a line of duty police death that currently the guy that had him killed basically is coming up for parole. It's been in the news.
Yes.
His name was Officer Dwyer, as you know. Happened about 30 years ago.
Yep.
Can you tell us?
1989, right?
1989.
Yeah. Well, the terrible thing about it is that he was rejected 4 times, I believe, for parole, and is coming up again by former Governor Cuomo's parole boy. Can you tell us about that incident?
Okay, first and foremost, I'll say this: if you get convicted of killing a cop, you should never see the light of day ever again. Sorry, all bets are off. There's none of this.
Agreed.
It's just that's it. You didn't just kill a person; you killed a symbol of society, of civilized society. That's what you did, and you deserve what is dealt to you.
Right on.
Jail for the rest of your life. Goodbye. You will have health care coverage, you will have free food, and you will have shelter. You know what? You don't even deserve that, but that's the way we're in America. That's the way it works. Okay, so here we are, working at midnight. Once again, my partner is on vacation. I'm driving the sergeant. And when on 14th Street, I think it was 6th Avenue or 8th Avenue, because the even numbers go north, right? So here I am. The radio's right here on my lap with me and my sergeant. I answer the radio, he answers the radio. We had a good working relationship. Great guy, Christopher Sincata. Anyway, over the radio comes a 1085 Forthwith or 1013 Midtown South portable unit. And I grabbed the radio and I said, "Unit, you're on the 2nd Division." He's supposed to be on the 3rd Division. 1st Division covered the 1st Precinct, 7th Precinct, and like that. And 2nd Division was the 6th Precinct, 10th Precinct, and 13th Precinct.
The 9th.
The 9th was on the 1st Division. Okay, so we're on the 2nd Division. I said, Unit, you're on the 2nd Division. He goes, "I know. 3rd Division's knocked out. My partner got pushed." I click over. All you hear is shh over the whole 3rd Division. What happened was, we found out. We started making notifications. We rush up there. We were up there in about probably 30 seconds because we're only 20 blocks away. It's on midnight. Lights and sirens. Boom, we're up there. He told us what happened. We ran up to the top of the building, looked up, looked down, and there was a void, not an air shaft, a void in between these buildings. It was at a McDonald's or a Burger King. And we ran up these stairs. He said, "Yeah, they robbed." We were walking the foot post. The cop's name was Jerry Kane, who I became friendly with after the fact. They were walking the Midtown South foot post. I believe it was a 6 to 2 post, 6 at night to 2 in the morning. And they picked up this robbery in progress, 30. Turned out, like most jobs, everything happens in an instant. You go from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. So here it's all chaos. We go up to the top. I go up to the top of the building, which really wasn't like a full building. It was in between buildings. It was like probably maybe 5 flights, I think, 5 stories. I go up there, go through the door. I could see the void, the open air area void, and my flashlight down, and I could see the cop. He was pushed. There's no possible way that he just fell chasing this guy. He didn't even see the guy. That guy waited for him. If you got to see this area, you would see how the potential for what he did, how it could. It's just not just a safe assumption. It is the reality. It definitely pushed him as he came out the door, and just to get away. And this poor guy, this cop doing his job, heard he was a great guy, his gentleman, his sweetheart. He fell to his death, and his body broke his radio, which keyed it, and it knocked out the whole division. That's why the 13 was called on my division. So the chaos ensues. Transit ESU shows up. They rappel from the building down to get to him to see what they can do for him. There's nothing they could do for him. So fire department and police department ESU are in the basement of this building. I was standing right there, and they break through there's a concrete and brick wall, not the foundation per se, but they break through it to get to him, and all dust and everything like that, and they pull him out as quickly as possible. EMS is there. They cut off all of his personal effects uniforms. I collected that up, and they had nothing on him right there. He had already passed, I'm pretty sure, but they had to rush him to Bellevue. They got him out of there. I took all of his personal effects, gun belt, shield, hat, uniform, and I brought it to the precinct. And then for the next, I don't know how long of that part of the tour, we were just searching for unknown people because it was so chaotic. We knew it was 2 perps, and sad to say, we didn't find anybody. I got to hand it to the detectives that took that case. I caught that case because they found those 2 guys, and they got them, and they went to jail. And I know the one guy did. I don't know what happened to the second guy. I don't know. But it's just something I remember like it was yesterday. It was so poignant. It's so sad to be. I don't wish it on any other cop anywhere to respond to a line of duty death where it happens within seconds of you being there. Not that I said I could have done anything to prevent it. It happened already. Well, but still, I was there, and the other cops had all responded. They worked magnificently to try to save this poor guy's life, and he did not deserve to be murdered like that.
A story like that should be told to the parole board. Maybe they'll reconsider. I
do sign the petition that PBA has, a perpetual petition for cop killers to keep that going. I did get a chance at the National Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C. after the fact when Anthony Dwyer's name was put on the wall to meet his parents. I introduced myself to them and told them I was there, and basically told them that story, not so detailed because, they're in pain. They don't want to hear about how injured their son was. And it was very sad, but I did get to say hello to them and shook their hands and gave them a hug, and something that still sticks with me.
His name is Ramos, right?
Yes.
His case has been postponed until after Election Day.
That's convenient.
Very convenient.
Well, the story is allegedly they're doing that, because most of the parole board members were appointed by Cuomo. And the allegation is that they're putting it over so that he has a better chance of winning the election. I think that's disgusting.
It is, and you know what else is even more disgusting in that sense right there is, and if you want to talk about politics, Democrats and Republicans, all right, New York is historically blue, okay, but the Democrats, they'll even go after each other in this situation here. Now they look at what Eric Adams did. I'm not a supporter of any Democrat, but and I'm not trying to get political here. But the fact of the matter is, I think that Eric Adams, what he did, but his own party turned against him because of a lot of things. But he wanted to have a conversation with Donald Trump regarding the dynamic and condition of New York City, and which is terrible. This city, basically, a lot of guys say the same thing. City's done. It's terrible. The Democrats exploited the Constitution, the freedom of speech. These poor cops, what they deal with now, they have to give a business card and stuff like that, and they have to take this verbal abuse from these guys. It never happened when I was on that job. Never. You were not allowed to speak to a cop in that way anyway, cursing them out, and they can't do that. They are completely handcuffed. It's disgusting. And so now, if you talk about how with these, like you said, it's an election with this putting this off because they devalued what keeps our society peaceful. It really is. The police are the line. It is us against them, but they made them, the politicians made them stronger than us. They totally handcuffed the police officers, the police department, from the bosses straight down to the foot post, and there's nothing we can do about it anymore. So I think if a politician takes a strong pro-police stance, it's probably going to be a mistake because they have it's a blue city and blue state, and they're so conditioned to hating cops now. The cops are the enemy. And I would hope that the Republicans or another independent party could come up with a viable candidate that would be able to wake people up and show them, you know what, we need to take this city back. We need to be part of what this city once was. It was great. I was asked to come in today. I did it because it's an honor to come here. Kevin's my friend for 40 years, and I would never tell him no on anything. And he would do the same for me. But we have a point to make as well.
Well, we have a candidate who's been on our show 3 times, Curtis Lewa.
Well, let's take a time out. As a New York City police officer and U.S. Marine and a resident of Staten Island,
yep.
You know who's running, I believe, the Democrats, Republicans, the Independents. I'm pretty sure you're aware of pretty much who the top runners are. Who would be your choice?
Right now, I know none of the Democrats would be because they all share that same part of the platform. Regardless, they might waver on either side. I'll never vote Democrat. That's my own political conviction because they waffle at everything. Now, as for the Republicans, I think Curtis Lewa gets a bad rap from people because he's so vocal. But I'll take a vocal guy who wants to, who's not a career politician. He loves New York. He really does. The guardian angels. It was there's nothing bad with that. He was helping out. People felt safe. When you see a guardian angel walking on the subway wearing the white shirt and with the red lettering and the red beret, I feel safe. I feel fine. I have no problem. I'm glad they're doing it. I'm glad they're there.
Yeah, he knows the city well. He loves the city very much, and he's a New Yorker.
Yes, he is. And might not agree with him all the time, but you know what? When you see a guy like Curtis Lewa, and I noticed this, and personable man, I've seen him at so many different things over the years. He's standing there by himself at St. Patrick's Day parade in Staten Island like 10 years ago. He's just standing there watching a parade. He wasn't grandstanding. He wasn't doing anything of the sort, just being out there, Do
you think most of Staten Island is for Curtis, or what do you think everyone is over there?
Well, you know what they did? They diluted Staten Island. It's almost like the Democrat cancer or spreading this disease of the liberal mentality when it comes to it started in lower Manhattan and just goes out to Long Island, to Brooklyn, and stuff like that, gentrification, call it whatever you like. And they're just anti-establishment. So Staten Island is getting that. It's the North Shore of Staten Island is pretty liberal. There's still some strongholds there with people that really care about what goes on, like common sense, quality of life issues, but you know what? The police, if you had a Democrat, it might be a shot, he might be shooting himself in the foot. But if you had a Democrat that brought back stop, question, and frisk, and, because when we were cops, one of the first, a tool that they told us about when we were in the police academy was one of the best tools that you can have as a police officer is a hunch. It's an inarticulable hunch. Like, you just know somehow. It's not being biased. You just can look at somebody. It doesn't make a difference what color they are, what language they speak, what they're wearing. You just know. You just have that sixth sense of someone's guy's up to no good, or a guy. Put it this way: cops, we know this. We are the best at discerning liars because we've been lied to by the best. Everybody lies to a cop. Everybody. I know. Organically with myself. I was never afraid of the cops. I always did the right thing. I was a good guy. I like being a good guy. I have nothing to hide, nothing to be afraid of. I learned when I became a New York City police officer never to fear police officers. I look at them, I said, I did that job. I know exactly how they feel in that radio car. They're not thinking about a power trip, or let's get this guy because he's black, or let's get this guy because he's a Puerto Rican, or let's see who we can mess with today, see who we can abuse, see who we can plant drugs on today. They don't think that way. They think like regular jobs just like anyone else. And they want to go home to their family. They want to make a living. They want to, it's all that crazy prejudice way of thinking of people who think about cops. Oh, you're going to get a promotion. You're going to make overtime on me. All this banter that you get from these people, these street urchins. It's disgusting. And you know what it comes down to? That political party that doesn't instill into these people, into their voting constituency, to have respect for the law, have respect for quality of life, have respect for the fortunate life that they live. It's just take. It's all they do. And they're disgusting.
Totally agree. Sean, since your retirement, what you been up to?
Since I retired from the police department, my efforts went towards being a father, a husband, a guitar player, and
Tell us about the shirt you're wearing, Boys in Blue.
Okay, this was a band that we put together, and we called Boys in Blue Band, and it was my friends. We all were cops. With the drummer, Gary Randazzo, 6th Precinct cop, good friend of mine. The other two guys that worked in the band with me were New York City correction officers. They were cops. They were friends of mine prior to that. So we came up with an idea for a band, because we played in a band for years, and Boys in Blue Band, because the cops are known as the Boys in Blue. And so we did a little derivative of the name. I had these shirts made up for nostalgia, and I gave each one of the guys one of the shirts. We don't play anymore, but we did a lot for the Fraternal Order of Police and a lot of their events. And all over Washington, D.C., National Law Enforcement Memorial. We did that down there every year for, I think, 6 years in a row. And lots of other events throughout the city of New York. All,
We play St. Patrick's Day, too, right? On the
St. Patrick's Day.
The NYPD Emerald Society.
I'm still a member of the Emerald Society for 40 years now. And haven't missed, I think I might have missed 1 or 2 years because I couldn't walk, of the St. Patrick's Day parade and the party afterwards, which is a great time. And they invite me. They don't let me. They invite me to play, and I get to play in between the sets. I play solo, and it's a great time. And it's all goodwill and the camaraderie of being a New York City police officer is equivalent, if not more, than being a United States Marine. So I get both of them. It's great.
That's great, Cap.
I know we touched upon your career and the police department. And some of the conditions cops have to work under. Can you elaborate more on your thoughts about the police department today and where it might be going in the future? Okay,
today, and I have strong opinions on this. One of the best things that they had when I came on that job was it was hereditary. Your father was a cop, you became a cop. I heard that story hundreds of times. I'm sure you have too. I had a high school diploma. I grew up in I wouldn't say a poor family, but we had nothing. I guess we were poor. We weren't on public assistance, but we made the best of what we had. So I graduated high school. My thought was go to the military, but did become a cop. High school diploma. When they sort of thought they were raising a standard of you had to require college to me, in a lot of ways, and just to me, is just like it's postponing reality. It's postponing responsibility and maturity. So I don't think college is was the answer to become a New York City police officer or a fireman or a civil servant. I think that was a mistake. I think you got more smarter cops, better guys that were more geared towards it, being a police officer or a fireman with just a high school diploma. I think that was a mistake. So now, fast forward with today, the way they've exploited the duties of a New York City police officer, saying it's constitutionally wrong about stop, question, and frisk. These guys, they're more. I thought I was handcuffed in certain ways and it would taking action as a police officer. These guys today can't do anything without. Put it this way: when I was on that job, I'm sure you guys can understand this, concur. The dynamic was you only called a supervisor when you had a DOA or an EDP, psycho, right?
That's right.
And that's it. You never called them for anything else. You made your arrest and you put it over to Radio Central. This is 6 David. We got one to the station house. They give you the time. You're on the clock for the 2 hours to process your collar, get them downtown. You're done for the day. You took police action. Now it's way different. You have to call a supervisor for everything. They empowered the general public, the mutts, the skells, the dirtbags, whatever you want to call them. We have our own little slangs for them. I think it's utterly disgusting that you got to call somebody who's acting out like a complete scumbag, piece of crap. You got to call him sir, and you have to give him a business card. No, I'm sorry. You open the door. You want to treat me. You want to start cursing at me. You want to call me the N-word or whatever you want to call me. You want to say bad things about me. You're getting it back. We're human beings. I don't have to take that. I didn't get hired for that. That's what I was saying when I took that shotgun off the guy. I didn't sign up for this. My boss told me, shut up, and you're going to get a medal. And we had a couple of beers over it, and we got over it, right? But now these guys have to take this. And the recategorizing and the number crunching that they do with crime is down. Crime is definitely not down. It's worse now than it was when I was a cop. And the cops can't do anything about it. We used to be able to, it was, hey, you saw a guy, you did so many great collars I made that, my time on patrol, pick up collars, pick up arrests, all on a hunch, all on, somebody give them a description, or I don't know what they look like, and put them in the radio car and just drive them around after the fact that it happened, and just pointing people out that looked like they could have done it. Is that the guy? Is that the guy? Wait, that is the guy. They had no idea who it was until they saw him again. And then there you go. You got it. Taking guns off guys that way. And these guys they lowered the standards. That's crazy in its own right. The soup sandwich looking uniform standards is ridiculous. They should have set uniform standards. April 15th, long sleeve shirts. June 15th, whatever it was. I forget the dates now. It's a long time ago. Short sleeve shirts you can wear. Not, you can pick and choose what. It's a uniform. One. Beards? Sorry. 8-point covers? Yes, because it commands respect of the general public. You see a cop in uniform with a nightstick in his hand, that's an extension of the law. It's not he's looking to beat people up. It's called the respect. Fear equals respect. They don't have that anymore. And that's a shame. It really is, because that's what kept this city in line. And look what happened. I'm no fan of Rudy Giuliani, Zeros for Heroes, what they did in Midtown South, Times Square. I was part of some of those details in the early days with that. And then, you know what? It was great. And, but look, a no-gun zone in Times Square, who's going to stop that? Oh, you can't have guns. Oh, wait a second. I'm not bringing my gun out with me today because there's a sign in Times Square that says no guns allowed.
Okay.
You're a New York City resident, so do you intend to stay in New York, or are you leaving?
No, I'm leaving.
Where are you going?
I'm moving to Florida. I bought a house already in Florida. I'm waiting to sell my house. I'm getting out of New York. I'm sorry to say it, but you know what? There's nothing that ties me here. I do not like the conditions here. I don't like cold weather, but that's not the point. I would be able to handle cold weather, but garbage everywhere, the utter disrespect and for the law. Disregard and disrespect for the law, disrespect for people in general.
Sean, your neighborhood in Staten Island, do you see that changing? A lot of guys and girls moving out to south? What
happened in my neighborhood used to be very quiet, South Shore of Staten Island. And what they did in Staten Island, they eliminated, I don't know what was for budget cuts or not, the Staten Island Rapid Transit, which is from the MTA. That's their train. They used to have conductors on there and the motormen, and they would go around and it's a free train. Right now, it's a free train ride. So all the people from the North Shore that want to come down to the South Shore, to the area where there are nice houses, they get a free ride to the South Shore. They come from the projects. They go and break into cars. They litter. They break bottles. They burglarize houses. They sell drugs. It's just like I said. It's a cancer that's so slowly spreading, and it's hitting Jersey now too. So the South Shore of Staten Island has turned terrible. The traffic's unbelievable. The property taxes are up through the roof. And so my property taxes, I pay $14,000 a year in property taxes. And where's that money going to? I get my garbage picked up twice a week, but I live by myself. I only do it twice a month. And you get it's for the cops and for the fire department. We understand that, and for the streets are terrible. There are potholes everywhere. There's garbage everywhere because what happens is it comes down to this. People act with impunity, the lowlifes, there's no penalty. They won't get prosecuted by liberal judges, and there's no punishment whatsoever. They do whatever they want. They're riding motorcycles all over the streets, kids with no plates on them. I pay a lot of money to register my car and insure my car every year, every month. My car costs me $300 a month in car insurance. I haven't had any accidents or summonses. I have nothing. All I do is waste $300 a month. I have a car payment. That's my problem. But these guys on there's bands of knucklehead kids zipping all over the streets recklessly, causing problems, and the cops can't do anything about it because my little boy's an angel. He didn't do anything. And what are you cops doing? Taking his property. You have no right to stop him. All that stuff all goes right hand in hand with the whole entire liberal Democrat policy of taking the power away from the police officers who really keep us safe. And I feel bad for the cops at work today because I'm sure a lot of them still have that calling, and a lot of them feel frustrated they can't do what they were actually trained to do.
It's got to be the call, and it's not for the money, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Or the abuse.
They make a lot more money than I made and when you made one on the job.
That's true. They got a decent raise recently,
they do.
but they need a lot more.
And when I came on a job in 1959, you know what the yearly salary was?
$1?
$4,800.
$4,800. My father didn't become a police officer because he said that he didn't make enough money to support all the children he had.
$4,800 a year, and we did a 48-hour. We did more than a 40-hour week. I think we did 45 hours, something like that.
And
Sean, one last question. 6th Precinct, I'm sure you're still in touch with some
Yes.
people there. When you were there, how many cops were there? What was the
250.
manpower? What is it today?
I don't even know. I
I'm
wish
sure
I
it's half of that.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Not less than half of
right.
that.
But it's the way it is. You know, it's everywhere. You know, remember that old saying, a cop is never there when you need him?
Yep. And getting back to your old post, Washington Square Park, I'll tell you right now, if you've I don't know if you've been down there recently. I have, as well as you, okay? It's worse.
Yeah.
It's worse than when you were there.
Because you know what it was? When I was a cop there, I'll tell you, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. You needed, not whether you needed a collar or you had to be, if the arrest was necessary, no matter what the situation was, it's right there for the picking because that's all you had there was criminals.
Yep.
People dealing drugs, have drugs on them, or buying drugs.
True. Anything you want to promote, while you're here? Any fundraisers or anything you want to promote?
Well, just recently, because of what I do as being a guitar player, I was asked to play at the fire department, the Tri-State Shields, which is the fire department football team, and the Tri-State Shields is a law enforcement based football team, semi-pro football team, where they all the proceeds of whatever they when they have a game goes towards helping cops and cops' families and things of that nature. And I had the honor of me and my son, who's a New York City fireman, I had the honor of going and playing the national anthem at their game a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday, which was great. And so this on the 8th of June coming up, they're having a run that's for Staff Sergeant Michael Olis, who died in Afghanistan, I believe, or in the war, and he's from Staten Island. And they're having a run for him, a 5K run for him. And the man who runs part of that is a good friend of ours, Joe LaPointe. Sure. He's a ceremonial unit, the CEO of the ceremonial unit in the New York City Fire Department.
Good man, Joe.
He should be called Saint LaPointe.
And they should keep him because I think it's mandatory retirement soon. Yeah, they should keep him as a deputy commissioner, and
they should definitely do that because he built an organization out of nothing. After September 11th, he's the busiest man I ever met in my life. He started out the ceremonial unit. He needed a good friend of mine. I played guitar for him many times, and it's who you know and the favors you do for people. Is the camaraderie that you have. He called me up one day, Sean, do you have a PA system that I can borrow for a funeral? Yeah, of course. Just a small PA system, 2 speakers and a little amplifier and a microphone. He came to my house, lives close by. He borrowed it, and he used it so he could call the people to attention at the funeral, all the firemen. It's all as a result of September 11th. And it built up to a huge thing where they allocated money, and where they made the unit what it is. You should have him on the show. Talk to him about
Well,
that.
we're going to get him on. Even though it's Cop Talk, we're going to have Fireman Joe
he was
on.
a cop.
Absolutely. Oh, I know. Well, he worked
worked
at me,
with you.
Midtown
The Midtown
North.
North
He's
precinct,
right.
yeah.
So he was a correction officer, a cop with me in Midtown North, and now a fireman.
So now,
Fire lieutenant.
so you said, what do I do with my things? Anything cop related, I'm asked to do, I do it. I am a cop. I've been a cop for 40 years now, and what I do is I'm playing the national anthem and playing for the beginning of this 7:30 in the morning. I'll be playing rock and roll and the national anthem on June 8th, Sunday at New York Plaza in Staten Island for the Staff Sergeant Michael Oldest run.
So, Sean, if anyone wants to hire you, and you've played many of our events, many events I was involved in for years. We're friends 40 years. I'm proud to say and honored to say I'm your friend for 40 years. You played my kids' christenings,
Christenings,
and also,
communions,
etc.
Yeah.
With that said, how can folks get in touch with you? Is there an email address?
It's my name, Sean T. Cosgriff at Verizon.net. And you can look me up on Facebook, Sean T. Cosgriff. And
That's
take
right,
it from there.
Sean T. Cosgriff.
Sean T.
I remember
Sean
that.
Thomas Cosgriff.
I remember that.
That's
Captain,
right.
before we wrap up, any last words?
Well, Sean, I think you've had a very interesting short career
It was.
in the police department, and what you've done afterward is just honorable in spite of all your injuries. And the story about Dwyer, who was shoved down that shaft, we can't let that go.
Nah.
It's got to go before the parole board again and keep this creep in jail for life.
I was also involved with the Joel Steinberg case. I was the first one to have that one too. It's another
That's right.
story.
I remember that. That is. Yep.
And they did get my input when he was up for parole, but he ended up getting out anyway. But that was another sticky situation.
Sean, as we wrap up, you want to lead us
All
out
right.
with a song?
Okay, we'll do that. No one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man behind blue eyes. No one knows what it's like to be hated, to be jaded, to telling only lies. But my dreams, they aren't as empty
Oh, yeah.
as my conscience seems to be. I have powers only lonely. My love is vengeance. It's never free. No one bites back as hard on their anger. None of my pain and woe can show through. No one knows what it's like to feel these feelings like I do. And I blame you.
Sing it, Sean.
But my dreams, they aren't as empty as my conscience seems to be. I have hours only lonely. My love is vengeance that's never free.
Sean Cosgriff, everyone. I want to thank Sean Cosgriff for being our guest. Thank you for your service with the U.S. Marines, the NYPD. I'm proud to say I know you 40 years and we're friends. Keep playing, baby. Don't stop. Until next time, I'd like to thank everyone for listening to Cop Talk. If you like what you hear, please subscribe. You can follow us on X as well, at Cop Talk WABC. That's at Cop Talk WABC. And Captain?
Don't forget, you can view Sean playing his guitar on YouTube.
Thank you, everyone. God bless you. God bless America. God bless our U.S. military. And God bless law enforcement throughout the world. Till next time, be safe out there. Thank you, Sean. Yeah.
No one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man behind blue eyes. Thanks for having me.
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II. One that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.